That's what that question is about. Because the only way you get an answer to that question is if there is a move to impeach and remove that has serious teeth in it, and that might then create a circumstance in which they cut their losses by having him resign or something, right?
Exactly.
Do you see that happening? Do you see that happening?
Well, politics. Politics.
The record of
it can happen in a day. I mean, suddenly it becomes politic to do so, which is why I ask you your opinion.
Well, I think the only way it's going to become politic for some of these folks who have had no backbone whatsoever over the course, not only of a couple of years, but of decades, is if the people of this country kind of make it clear that show and display of continued disregard for the requirements of constitutional integrity is going to be punished at the ballot box without equivocation. But sadly, we're right now living in a brainwashed era where a lot of people who ought to be taking this view, you guys do what's right or we're going to take our ballot and kick your butts right out of there, whoever you are, right? Is that the attitude people have been taking, or are they thinking, well, these bad guys are so bad that these other bad guys now look good? Well, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. There's the assassin over here who wants to kill the Constitution, and then there's the one over there who wants to kill the Constitution, and you're telling me the one over there looks better than the one over here because he wears a different party label?
Well, now that raises my next question to you. By the way, you're moving in and out of your microphone, and so your voice is coming and going and everything, and we really want to hear your voice. Do you believe politics has become so pervasive that it's no longer possible to have honesty in government?
Well, I'm not sure I would answer the question yes, given that the word politics is very broad. I mean, politics basically, to me, when I hear the word politics, I hear the word the business of the citizens. And so, in one sense, I would hope politics has become so pervasive that something is going to happen because people will wake up to the fact that politics isn't what the politicians are doing. Politics is what the people at large do in order to care for and sustain their sovereignty, which has been handed down as part of our constitutional heritage since the founding generation. That's politics. I hope that politics becomes so pervasive that the little cliques that are trying to destroy our liberty don't get away with it. But I can't say I'm right now feeling greatly confident that that's going to happen. I think the problem is that politics, in the sense of domination by self-serving cliques and partisan interests and ideologues seeking to overturn and destroy the sovereignty of the people and return us to government of, by, and for self-serving, self-worshipping elites, I think that kind of politics is now predominant. And the folks who are most deeply threatened by it are still making up their minds whether we've got a problem. Some of them. Too many of them.
Let's talk about media then. Let's take media as the next one. Has media influence become so extensive that ordinary people can no longer count on the accuracy of information they receive? I mean, how do people become informed so that they can take a stand, so that they can make intelligent decisions these days?
Well, part of the problem is that people have allowed themselves to become consumers of fabricated so-called information, right? And if you passively allow yourself to sit back and take what's being fed to you by the so-called mainstream media, you just let them pour all their cesspool junk down your throat, then of course you're not getting informed, you're getting poisoned, literally. You are being fed an understanding of the world that leaves you with a sense of powerlessness and hopelessness and a deep yearning to get dependent on government so it'll save you. That's what they're all about. And everything they do now, I think, is geared toward producing that reaction, invalidating the sense of self-sufficiency, responsibility, potential sovereignty, concern for the community, responsibility to follow through on that concern. All these things that are aspects of what it means to be a real citizen, they're trying to destroy, telling people basically you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the money, you don't have the smarts, you don't have this, you don't have that. And anyway, you're more interested in the sex, and you're more interested in the jobs, and you're more interested in the money and the material well-being, so you don't have time for all of that. Isn't that what they're doing? If people sit back and accept that swill, they will become what the programmers of that swill intend them to become. On the other hand, they could take a different point of view in today's world, because it is still the case, and what we're doing right now, I think, exemplifies it, that if people cease to be passive consumers of swill and instead become hunters of truth, going out there to use the instruments that are available to them to find the discussions, the sites, information sources that will allow them to hear and evaluate the things that are being either ignored or deep-sixed or driven out by the folks who are trying to destroy their personal capacity to be part of the sovereign body of the people of the United States. If they overcome that passivity and become active hunters of truth and accurate information, they can do so now. A matter of fact, they can do so now better than any people at any time in the history of the world. So we have a choice, don't we? People, individuals, face a choice now. And if they're just sitting back and lamenting, oh, the media never tells me the truth, and they're lying and stuff, and there's nothing to do, that's not true. Turn them off. Turn them off. Don't bother with them. Don't accept their swill. Go out and look for yourself. And you will find, by the way, because people have now started to come up with ways of sharing information, sites that are actually being fed by people at the grassroots, who are reporting on what they see and what they experience, whether it's something like what's going on in Colorado or other events in different parts of the world. We don't have to rely on these centralized fabricators of lies who intend to program us for slavery. We don't have to. So I ask, why are people doing it? I don't know. So no, I don't think that the nature of the politics or the media need necessarily doom us to become the enslaved, used-to-be free citizens that these folks intend for us to become. But it's a decision that people are going to have to take. And they've got to take it right now. They can't go on doing what they've done and expect a different result.
Has America become a police state?
Whoa.
Say something,
I
Alan.
have to say, no, I'm thinking.
I know.
I want to answer. I try to answer as accurately as possible. And on the one hand, some people would just want to jump up and say, yes, we've become a police state. And I'm looking at myself and say, well, that's a great way to encourage people to take advantage of what is still there in the way of opportunities for expression, political action, communication. No, those opportunities are still there. In the strict sense that I don't know, the Nazi state or the Soviet state had implemented fully an apparatus of control that repressed the ability of citizens to express, that punished that expression with great immediacy and directness. No, we have not. And to pretend that we are is just a way of escaping.
Alan? Alan? Okay, now I'm not hearing Alan.
It was just taken supposedly on immigration, right?
For a moment, your voice dropped off.
Oh, in the course of taking a decision supposedly about immigration, the Supreme Court of the United States articulated this view that, yeah, it's against the Constitution for them to be trying to force people to buy health insurance in this way, but they can do it anyway because the taxing power isn't limited under the Constitution. And so as a tax, they can impose this kind of burden on people. Well, that basically means that in principle, they have already put in place an instrument that can then be used to terrorize in livelihood every American in the country. And once you have an instrument like that that can reach into every home and hearth and basically put people in a state of fear for their future, then I would have to say, in principle, yes, you do have a police state. And if you want it to be followed through in fact in short order, then sit on your hands and do nothing about what is happening.
Alan, we have less than a minute left. I want a very quick answer. Do you think there is going to be a second American Revolution?
Well, let me put it this way. I don't know, but if things continue to go the way they are going, then I certainly hope so. That's a
good answer. Do you have any new books you're writing, any shows you're doing, any places you're going to be appearing in the near future?
Well, I've devoted most of my time and effort now these days to writing for my blog, Loyal to Liberty, where I have some extensive pieces about what's been going on, including things that address what I think people ought to be doing right now. So if folks want to stay in touch with what I'm doing, I think they should try to visit that site as frequently as they can.
Excellent, excellent. And that site is www.loyal2liberty, and 2 is T-O, loyal2liberty.com. My guest has been Dr. Alan Keyes. It would never have, I could do the whole 3 hours talking to you, Alan. It's been such an absolute pleasure, and I hope you will come back soon to have more discussions with us on truth, justice, and liberty.
Be glad to do it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Dr. Alan Keyes, www.loyal2liberty.com.